A folded train ticket, one seat, and a girl who gave it up for a tired stranger carrying a sleeping child. What followed was not a fairy tale, but a slow-burn romance that would change the course of all three of their lives. Maggie Johnson had been traveling on the same train for years, her routine as predictable as the sun rising in the east. She worked 2 jobs to make ends meet, one at a local clinic and the other at a bustling coffee shop. Her life was simple, almost monotonous, but she found solace in the quiet moments, like the evening train ride home. On this particular Thursday, the autumn evening was crisp, and the train was half full. Maggie sank into her seat. Grateful for the rare moment of rest, she adjusted the strap of her worn canvas bag and closed her eyes, letting the rhythmic hum of the train lull her into a state of semi-consciousness. Suddenly, the train jolted to a halt at the next station. Passengers boarded, and Maggie opened her eyes just as a man stepped in, carrying a little girl in his arms. The girl's head rested on his shoulder, her legs dangling, one in a soft pink brace. Her arms clung to his neck like the world might vanish if she let go. The man looked worn, not messy or broken, just held together too tightly. His jaw was tense, his coat slightly damp, and his eyes were everywhere and nowhere at once. No one moved to offer their seat. The train jolted forward, and Maggie stood up without a moment's hesitation. She nodded toward the empty seat beside her and stepped back, holding onto the rail. The man hesitated, then met her gaze. Confusion etched on his face, as if kindness was a foreign currency. But he sat down slowly, adjusting the girl with practiced care so she could rest on his chest. "Thank you," he said, his voice low and edged with exhaustion. Maggie smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You're welcome," she replied softly, as the rhythm of the train settled into its night-song hum. The silence around them softened. Maggie leaned against the wall near the door, not trying to start a conversation. She just existed beside them. Quietly, the man Danny glanced at her again. Something about her presence steadied him. She was young but not naive, tired but kind. Her coat was faded, her boots a little scuffed, but her eyes were bright, and her expression free from judgment. The girl, Catherine, murmured something in her sleep, a soft sound. Danny responded with a subtle touch on her back, a reflex born of practice and love. He didn't mean to take the train that night. His driver was late, and frankly, he couldn't handle the office a second longer. It was nearly the anniversary. 2 years since the plane crash. 2 years since the woman who believed in his dream more than he did took off from New York in a storm she should have delayed. She never made it. Catherine was 3 when it happened. The leg injury came a few months later. One bad fall, one weak bone, and everything changed again. She could walk now. Slowly, not far, not fast. But she never complained, and that's what hurt the most. As the train pulled into the next station, Maggie reached for her bag and gave Danny a final nod. "Take care," she said. "You too," he replied quietly. She disappeared into the night, swallowed by the crowd, her coat trailing behind like a shadow that didn't want to leave. The next morning, Maggie stood in the tiny kitchen of her apartment, watching steam curl out of her chipped mug. The radiator in the corner groaned again, trying its best to push warmth through the peeling paint and tired bones of their rented space. She wrapped her hands around the mug like it was a lifeline. Across from her, her brother Milo adjusted the brace on his leg with quiet concentration. He didn't complain, didn't ask for help, but Maggie watched every small one like it was a medal. He had been a rising soccer talent until the accident. Now every step was a war, one he fought silently. "Your shift run late?" he asked, not looking up. "Not really," Maggie said, "but I won't be running anything today." He looked at her then, eyes narrowing. "What happened?" She shrugged, pretending to sip her tea. "I gave up my seat on the train. Came in 20 minutes late. Manager said I'd left my post unattended." "Technically, he's right." Milo muttered something under his breath and tightened the strap on his brace. "I can talk to him." No, her voice was firmer than she intended. "It's fine. I'll pick up more shifts at the clinic. Maybe the diner down on 5th is still hiring. People need coffee, right?" Milo didn't argue. He knew better. Maggie didn't stop. Not when their mother passed. Not when the bills piled up. Not when he said she should go chase her dreams instead of watching over him. "You can't carry all of it forever, you know." She tried to smile, but her eyes stung. Across the city, Danny Carter sat on his sleek leather sofa, fingers loosely clasped, mind far from the silent house around him. He hadn't slept much, not because of work, not because of deadlines, but because of the girl on the train, the way she'd given up her seat without a word, the way she'd looked at his daughter, not with pity but something else, something warmer, familiar. Catherine had noticed too. She never forgot faces. Last night, before falling asleep, she whispered, "If I ever get to walk faster, I want to go find her." He chuckled, kissed her forehead, and tucked her in. But long after she slept, he stared at the ceiling, haunted by something he couldn't name. Who was that girl? And why did it feel like he was supposed to meet her again? Later that evening, Maggie walked back from the pharmacy, her paper bag rustling with each step. She turned a corner and found herself in front of the clinic. Danny stood there, his charcoal coat crisp and neat, but his expression different now. Less guarded, curious, she straightened, surprised. Hi, you work here. Used to. Still do, kind of. Depends who you ask. He gestured toward the hallway. Milo, he's my brother. Danny nodded, understanding in his eyes. He talks about you. Not constantly, just enough. She smiled, surprised. She's sweet. She doesn't usually notice people. Not like that. She sees everything, but she doesn't always connect. That night, she didn't stop talking about you. Maggie looked down. Her boots were worn but polished. It wasn't a big deal. Just a seat. Danny studied her face. It was, for a moment. Neither of them spoke. Then she asked, "Did you come here to say thank you?" "No," he said honestly. "I came here because I think I was meant to." The word surprised even him. Maggie blinked. "That's not a line I hear often." He smiled slightly. "I don't say it often." Before she could reply, Milo stepped out of the therapy room. He looked between them wary. Maggie turned. "Hey, Milo. This is Danny," she said. "He was on the train the other night." Danny extended a hand. "Nice to meet you." Milo didn't take it right away, but after a beat he shook it. His grip was strong. Later that night, as Maggie folded laundry on the couch, her phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize. A message. "I'd like to see you again. But not because I owe you anything. Just because you felt familiar. DC." Maggie stared at the screen, then typed, "Then say hi like a normal person next time." She hit send, smiled to herself just a little. The following days were a blur of shifts at the clinic and the coffee shop. Maggie didn't see Danny again, but his message lingered in her mind. She found herself looking forward to his next text, even though she tried to brush it off as silly. One evening, as she walked home from the clinic, she passed a large billboard near the bus stop. The ad was sleek and modern, featuring a name and a logo that made her heart skip a beat. Danny Carter, not just in a crowd, but front and center, smiling, purposeful, in a suit she had never seen him wear. Her steps slowed as she read the words "Innovating for a Kinder World." Carter Solutions, Carter. Her stomach dropped. The wind picked up, catching her coat. She blinked, suddenly unsure if the cold in her chest was from the breeze or something deeper. She stood there for a long moment, bag in hand, noise fading into static. So that was it. The quiet, tired father on the train. The man who let her talk about struggle and simplicity like they shared it. He wasn't just Danny. He was that Danny. The revelation hit her hard. She didn't cry, not then, not even on the walk home. But when she stepped into the apartment and set the medicine down on the table, Milo looked up from his book and instantly knew something was wrong. "Maggie," she shook her head. "I'm fine." He waited. She dropped into the chair across from him. He lied. Milo raised an eyebrow. "Danny, he's not just a single dad. He owns a whole company." "The company? I saw the ad." Milo sat back. "Wow, that's a lot. Did he tell you?" "No, maybe he was scared." She looked at her hands. "He could have told me. He had so many chances, but instead he let me believe we were the same. Like I could actually belong in his world. Maybe he didn't want you to feel like you didn't." She bit her lip hard. "Or maybe he thought I'd never find out." Milo was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do?" Maggie stood. "I'm going to do what I always do, step away before I become someone's lesson." That night, her phone buzzed. "You free tomorrow? I thought maybe we could all catch that outdoor movie by the pier. There's popcorn." Catherine insists. She stared at the message, typed, deleted, typed again, then finally replied, "I can't. Sorry." No explanation, no smiley face. Just 3 words. And then she turned off her phone. The next day, Maggie received a message from Danny. He wanted to talk. He didn't know she had seen the billboard. She wasn't sure if it was worth telling him. She stared at her phone, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Unsure of what to say, she decided to meet him, if only to clear the air. They arranged to meet at a quiet park near the clinic. The air was crisp and the sun was warm as they sat on a bench, the leaves crunching under their feet. Danny looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of hope and worry. "Maggie, I need to explain," he started, his voice soft. "I should have told you who I was from the beginning. I was afraid that you would see me differently, that you would judge me for my wealth." She looked at him, her heart aching. "I did see you differently, Danny, but not in the way you think." She took a deep breath. "I saw a man who was kind, who cared for his daughter, who was tired and worn. I saw someone who needed a moment of kindness. I didn't see a millionaire. I saw a man." Danny reached out, his hand gently touching hers. "I'm sorry, Maggie. I should have been honest with you." She looked down at their entwined hands, her heart fluttering. "I understand why you didn't tell me. But I need to know if you're willing to be honest with me now." Danny nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "I promise, Maggie, no more secrets." She smiled softly, her heart easing a little. "I believe you." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. Then Danny spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maggie, I care about you. More than I can express. And I care about Catherine. She adores you." Maggie's heart swelled. "I care about both of you too, Danny. More than you know." He took her hand, his thumb gently rubbing her knuckles. "Then give us a chance. Give me a chance to make this right." She looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity and the love. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." That night, as Maggie lay in bed, She thought about the day's events. She had been hurt, yes, but she also saw the genuine remorse in Danny's eyes. She saw the love he had for Catherine and the way he looked at her. She saw a man who was willing to risk everything for a chance at happiness. And she realized that she wanted the same thing. She wanted a chance to love and be loved in return. She wanted a family, a home, and a future, and she wanted it with Danny and Catherine. A few weeks passed, and Maggie found herself falling deeper into a rhythm with Danny and Catherine. They spent more time together, sharing meals, watching movies, and taking walks in the park. Catherine's laughter filled the air, and Maggie found herself smiling more than she ever had before. One evening, as they sat on the porch of Danny's house, watching the sunset paint the sky with hues of orange and pink, Danny turned to Maggie. "I have something for you," he said, his voice soft. He handed her a small, elegantly wrapped box. Maggie's eyes widened as she took it, her heart pounding in her chest. She carefully unwrapped the box, revealing a beautiful necklace with a delicate pendant. "It's a promise," Danny said, his eyes never leaving hers, "a promise of a new beginning, of a future together." Tears welled up in Maggie's eyes as she looked at the necklace, then back at Danny. "It's beautiful," she whispered. He took the necklace from the box and fastened it around her neck. As his fingers brushed against her skin, she felt a shiver run down her spine. He leaned in, his breath warm on her cheek. "I love you, Maggie," he whispered. She turned to face him, her heart overflowing with emotion. "I love you too, Danny," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. Their lips met in a tender, heartfelt kiss, sealing their promise of a new beginning. The next day, Maggie received a call from the clinic. They had a full-time position open, and they wanted her to take it. She looked at the necklace around her neck, remembering Danny's words. This was her chance to start anew, to build a future with the people she loved. She accepted the offer without hesitation. That evening she shared the news with Danny and Catherine. Catherine's eyes lit up with excitement. "That means you'll be with us more often," she said, her voice filled with joy. Maggie smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. "Yes, sweetie, that's exactly what it means." Danny pulled her into a warm embrace, his love enveloping her like a cozy blanket. "I'm so proud of you, Maggie," he whispered, as they stood there, surrounded by the love and warmth of their newfound family. Maggie knew that this was just the beginning. They had weathered the storms of the past, and now they were ready to embrace the future together. The house they had once been strangers in now felt like a home, filled with laughter, love, and the promise of endless possibilities. And as they watched the sunset paint the sky with its golden hues, Maggie knew that she had finally found her place in the world. A place where she belonged, where she was loved, and where she could love in return. A place where she could be herself without fear or judgment. And she knew that this was just the start of their beautiful journey together.